ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा. So welcome to the Sri Namastaka. Yesterday we began with the discussion on Sri Namastaka, and we mentioned what is the purpose of doing this course and what the audience can expect. Every one of you also shared your views. So the purpose is very clearly enumerated by Srila Prabhupada in his purport to 7-5-23 to 25 purport. He's very clear there. So Prabhupada says that Kirtanam means to chant the holy names, and one should hear the holy name. And Prabhupada goes on in the detail of the purport that in order to chant the holy name, one has to avoid the 10 offenses in the holy name. And there is no way to atone for these 10 offenses. And the remedy he gives twofold. One is to constantly chant the holy name and to offer prayers to the Sri Nam Prabhu. Prabhupada quotes that if one commits an offense to a Vaishnava, one should submit to that Vaishnava, offer him prayers and serve him. Similarly, one who commits offenses to Nam, he has to offer prayers and submit to Sri Nam. You have to take Nam Ashraya. And very interestingly, yesterday we brought out that one who chants the holy name constantly like this for a prolonged time, then only he is able to become free from Namaprad. And then Prabhupada says, gradually one will come to the Namabhas stage and come to the transcendental position. And then, situated in that position, when he takes Nam, Nam means Shuddha Nam, then he can attain love of Godhead. So, the reason we are doing this seminar is so that we can come out of the Namaprad stage and gradually elevate ourselves to the Namabha stage. So we saw this purport quite in detail. And then we saw two more quotations from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Tattvam Asi. Prabhupada mentions how the Mukhya is the Pranava Omkar, the chanting of the Pranava Omkar, and Tattvam Asi is a subsidiary chanting, but Shankaracharya made it prominent. And in this purport also, we saw that again, we have to glorify Nam Prabhu. And Prabhupada again quotes Namastaka verse and then Nivritta Tarshira from the 10th canto. And then Prabhupada says that the name of the Lord can be chanted by one who is completely freed from material contamination. That means Anya Bilashita Shunyam. So from there only we take Nam. Till then, it is Namaprad or at best Namabhas. So we saw this purport also. And then two purports we saw from the Chaitanya Charitamrita 470. Bhajanera Madhe Navavidha Bhakti. Krishna Prema Krishna Dhite Dhare Maha Shakti. And there Prabhupada again gives the Navida Bhakti of the Prahlad Maharaj verse. And he mentions the glories of Nam. So Prabhupada quotes Devuti's praise, Ahobata Sapacho, and then Jan Maishwarya. In the next purport, Taramade Sarvashresh Nama Sankirtan, Niraprade Namaloy Paye Premadhan. So in this purport, Prabhupada quotes Jiva Goswami's Bhakti Sandarbha, how chanting is the principal means of attaining love of Godhead. After quoting that, Prabhupada again quotes the Namashtaka first verse, and then the other verses glorifying Nam. One is from the Brihad Bhagavatamrit, and then again Bhagavatam verse 2:111. Then from the 6th canto, Ajamil's pastime. Then Trinadapi Sunichena. Now, regarding the 10 offenses, he says you refer to Adi Leela, chapter 8, verse 24, because there he has enumerated quite in detail. So yesterday we finished this discussion. Today, now we have seen the theoretical aspect of that chanting means to chant Nam. And Nam means Shuddha Nam. Today, we will discuss few of the verses of what is the experience of actually chanting Nam. This is again in the appendix to Sri Namashtaka, and this is from the first canto, I think 6th chapter. Narad Muni, after preaching to Vyas, he's the eternal spaceman, he leaves and chanting the glories of the Lord and how he's experiencing the direct experience of Bhagwan while chanting the name. So we will see these verses today. So this is the second part of the discussion today. Let us go through these verses. Narad Muni's direct experience of Godhead. Now, 3 verses we are going to directly quote. After Narad Muni preaches Vyas, then he takes his veena and then he just flies in the sky. So that time, Sut Goswami narrates this verse. Devadattamimam veenam swarabrahma vibhushitam Murchatitva harikatam gayamanascharāmyaham. And thus I travel, charamaham, constantly singing the transcendental message of the glories of the Lord, harikatham, murchitva, vibrating this instrument called as veena, imam veenam, which is charged with transcendental sound, swara brahma vibhushitam, and which was given to me by Lord Krishna. Deva Dattam. Deva means here the Supreme Lord. Datta means he has given this to us. He had given this to me. Narad is, narrating this to Vyasdev. Let's see the purport. The musical stringed instrument called as the veena, which was handed to Narad by Lord Sri Krishna, is described in the Linga Puran, and this is confirmed by Srila Jiva Goswami. So the narration is there in the Linga Puran. This transcendental instrument is identical with Lord Sri Krishna and Narad because all of them are of the same transcendental category. So Prabhupada is making a very important point that the instrument and Narad Muni both are completely spiritual, because in the spiritual world everything is a conscious entity. So they are the same transcendental category. Sound vibrated by the instrument cannot be material, and therefore the glories and the pastimes which are broadcast by the instrument of Narad are also transcendental without a tinge of material inebriety. So, because it is spiritual, the sound which is emanating from that instrument is also completely spiritual. Now, in the material world, the musical instruments like the veena or the harmonium or the mridanga or the kartal, when we use it for glorifying the Lord, then only it is spiritual. But that same instruments, if we sing some mundane songs, then it doesn't become spiritual. That is the difference in the material realm and in the spiritual realm. Everything is spiritual there. The seven singing meters, namely Sa, Re, Gha, Ma, Pa, Dha, Ni, are also transcendental and specifically meant for transcendental songs. So Prabhupada is again very specific here, as I was mentioning, that the Sare Ghama also we should compose songs for glorifying the Lord and not glorifying anything mundane in this world. So they are specifically meant for that. As a pure devotee of the Lord, Sri Narada Dev is always fulfilling his obligation to the Lord for his gift of the instrument, and thus he is always engaged in singing his transcendental glories and is therefore infallible in his exalted position. So here I want to bring a very important point which Rupa Goswami himself uh, mentions in the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. That is, what is Yukta Vairagya? Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe. Yukta Vairagya Uchyate, he says. Anashrita, Anasakta Vishayan Yataramba Upayunjitam. So you can see that Narad Muni got this gift of the Veena, and he was so obliged that he used this instrument continuously, exclusively for the glorification of the Lord. Nirbandhe Krishna Sambandhe. Now, there are three criterias for Yukta Vairagya. First is Anasakta Vishayan. You have to be completely anasakta. If to be completely anasakta means you have to be completely asakta with Krishna. So this criteria itself is very difficult. Yatharamba upayunjitam. And the thing what you're going to use in the service of the Lord, it should be favorable to be used in the service of the Lord. And that thing what you're going to use, it should never be used for your own sense gratification, but nirbandha. Nirbandha means 24 hours at all times. Nirbandhe Krishna Sambandhe. Yukta Vairaga iti uchyate. So this Yukta Vairagya principle is sometimes very, there's a lot of misapplication which happens. But here you can see in the case of Narad Muni, this instrument he always used in the service of the Lord. Sometimes devotees get a lot of facilities. You might get a car or you might get some instruments. And whether we are always using for the service of the Lord, we have to see, and whether we are not attached to it. So these three criteria have to be fulfilled for Yukta Vairagya. So Yukta Vairagya is not an easy thing to be applied, especially for sadhakas. But for siddhas, they can do it. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur had a Rolls Royce, which he was using for spreading the glories of the Lord, but he was completely detached. So that's the point. So this is very important here, what Prabhupada is mentioning, that he was always fulfilling his obligation by always engaged in singing the transcendental glories of the Lord. Following in the footsteps of Srila Narad Muni, a self-realized soul in the material world also properly uses the sound meters, namely Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, etc., in the service of the Lord by constantly singing his glories. So, who can follow the footsteps of Narad Muni? Prabhupada is very clear. It's only a self-realized soul. So, only a self-realized soul can apply this Yukta Vairagya principles. It's very important to note here. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 9:14, the Mahatmas or great souls have no business in life except singing the transcendental glories of the Lord. So Prabhupada is substantiating his point. The self-realized soul is the Mahatma because he is Daivim Prakritim Ashrita. That means he has attained the stage of Nishtha. He is no more under the influence of the modes of material nature. Mahatmana Sumam Partha Daivim Prakritimashita Bhajante Ananya Manaso. So this is the characteristic of pure devotion. Anya Abhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadya Anavritam Anukulena Krishnanu. Krishnanu means continuous. And here also in this verse 9:14 it is said Bhajante Ananya Manaso, without any deviation. So this is only possible for one who is self-realized and in the higher stages. So this is 1:6:33. Let's go to the next verse. Pragayata swaviryani tirthapada priyashrava ahut iva me shigram darshanam yati chetasi. This is a very important verse, and we will discuss this because this verse gives how Narad Muni is experiencing the Lord. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, whose glories and activities are pleasing to hear, Priya Shrava, at once appears in the seat of my heart. Darshanam yati chetasi, shigram, very quickly, ahut ivame, as if called for. Ahut means ahvan. As soon as I begin to chant his holy activities. Pragayata swaviryani. Moment I start chanting, immediately the Lord appears at once in the seat of my heart. Now this is Shuddhanam chanting. Now Prabhupada's purport is very important here and we will go through carefully. The absolute personality of Godhead is not different from his transcendental name, form, pastimes, and the sound vibrations thereof. Now Prabhupada begins his purport by mentioning the Padma Puran quotation, Abhinnatvam Nama Nami. Because only a Madhyamadhikari who is chanting Namabhas can realize that the name is non-different from the Lord. And that's why he never commits offense while chanting the holy name. So this is the first criteria required if you want to realize the Lord in the heart. Now, Prabhupada says, as soon as a pure devotee, here Prabhupada is very specific, he says pure devotee, engages himself in the pure devotional service of hearing and chanting and remembering the name, fame, and activities of the Lord, at once he becomes visible to the transcendental eyes of the pure devotee by reflecting himself on the mirror of the heart by spiritual television. Now here, many points to be noted. Prabhupada is saying that firstly, it is the pure devotee only who engages in Shuddha Bhakti, not Mishra Bhakti. And moment he chants, remembers, what happens? The Lord becomes visible. To what kind of eyes? He says transcendental eyes, Prema Chakshu. to the Prema Chakshu. And how? The principle is by reflecting himself on the mirror of the heart by spiritual television. Now, this technology of spiritual television is, not known to us, but today we have, wherever any cricket is going on in a stadium, there are antennas, and in the space, the satellites are there. And moment in the space, the frequency is connected to the stadium from the satellite through our antennas. Here, we can see in our television live the cricket match. So, similarly, the heart is like a spiritual antenna, and the heart, which is completely pure, Chaito Darpan Marjanam has happened. The chit is completely pure. So, when the chit is pure, like a mirror, anything which comes in front, it can reflect. So, similarly, when we tune to the Mahamantra and nothing else, we tune to the Mahamantra frequency, then we can access the spiritual satellite, the spiritual world, and we can see the Lord in the spiritual world, and the Lord is reflected in the heart. So this is spiritual television. This is what was the experience of Sanjay, because he was directly narrating what was happening at the Battle of Kurukshetra. So this is how it happens. Especially in Rajasthan, traditionally, uh, those who are following the tradition, when especially Matajis, when they go to take darshan of the Lord, the deities, they carry a mirror, and they place the mirror near to their heart and try to see the image reflecting on the mirror, the deity image, and that's how they take darshan. It's very interesting, because ultimately, if the heart is pure, then the deity what you're seeing right in front of you can also be seen within the heart. And this experience even Dhruva Maharaj had. Dhruva Maharaj saw the Lord in the heart, and immediately the Lord disappeared. But when he opened his eyes, he saw the same Lord in front of him. So this only happens at the stage of bhava and prema. And that's why Prabhupada is very clear here that it is for a pure devotee. Therefore, a pure devotee who is related with the Lord in loving transcendental service can experience the presence of the Lord at every moment. Now, here Prabhupada is speaking about that experience because he is able to see the Lord in the heart, and that's why he is able to experience at every moment. It is a natural psychology in every individual case that a person likes to hear and enjoy his personal glories enumerated by others. Now, Prabhupada is bringing out a very interesting point. Like somebody starts glorifying you, it's so pleasing to the ears. Priya Shava. So you're inclined to hear, oh, he's speaking my glories, let me hear attentively. So, similarly, this psychology is there in the Lord also. If somebody starts chanting his glories, the Lord, his ears are open, he's hearing it. And in fact, Jiva Goswami in the Sandarbhas mentions that anyone who is chanting the Lord's name, the Lord's attention is 100% on that person. Although that devotee might be battling and struggling to hear the name, but the Lord's attention on him is 100%. Only the Lord will be waiting when this devotee will 100% focus and hear my name. And ultimately, then you are tuned. Because we are having some self-interest and we are attracted to it. But the Lord also has the same psychology, but he does it for our benefit. That's what Prabhupada is going to mention. That is a natural instinct, and the Lord, being also an individual personality like others, is not an exception to this psychology, because psychological characteristics visible in the individual souls are but reflections of the same psychology in the absolute truth. Very, very important statement. So if this psychology is there in us, the psychology is there in the Lord also. And ultimately, if we are a personality, the Lord is also a personality. The only difference is the Lord is the greatest personality of all and absolute in all his affairs. So Prabhupada brings out Nityo Nityanam, Chetanas, Chetananam. This is the first difference. He's the greatest personality. Secondly, when he does this activity of hearing, that natural psychology, but his actions are all absolute. If therefore the Lord is attracted by the pure devotees chanting of his glories, there is nothing astonishing. Since he is absolute, he can appear himself in the picture of his glorification, and the two things being identical. Sri Narada chants the glorification of the Lord not for his personal benefit, but because the glorification are identical with the Lord. Narad Muni penetrates into the presence of the Lord by transcendental chanting. So we can penetrate into the presence of the Lord, or we can perceive the Lord through transcendental chanting. Prabhupada, when he says transcendental chanting, it means Shuddhanam, not Namaprad. Okay, the last verse. Swara Brahmani Nirbhata Rishikesha Padambuje Akhandam Chittam Aveshya Lokan Anucharan Muni. The seven musical notes Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, Pa, Dha, Ni are used in musical instruments, but originally they come from the Samveda. Prabhupada is giving not only just a translation of the verse, but he's giving an entire explanation. Swara Brahmani. So where is this Swara Brahmani? It is coming from the Samveda. And Krishna in the Vibhuti Yoga of the 10th chapter, he says, Vedanam aham Samveda. Among all the four Vedas, I am Samveda. Because Samveda is one of the biggest Vedas. There are 1,000 divisions in the Samveda. Because Samveda deals with, uh, singing songs in the glorification of the Lord. And they are very, pleasing to the heart. And among the Samvedas in the Vibhuti Yoga, Krishna says, Samvedanam aham Brahat Sam. Among Samvedas, I am Brahat Sam. So there is a Brahat Sam, which is glorification of the Lord, which is very dear to the Lord. In fact, it is said that Garuda, when he's carrying Vishnu, the flapping of his wings sing the Brahat Sam for pleasing the Lord. That's the service of Garuda. So these Swara Brahma, they come from the Samveda. The great sage Nadar vibrates sounds describing the pastimes of the Supreme Lord by such transcendental vibrations, such as the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now, Prabhupada, see, you can see how much he's emphasizing that Swara Brahmani, now he's directly quoting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra in his translation. He fixes his mind at the lotus feet of the Lord. Avesha, Chitta Avesha. The Chit is completely Avesh. Thus he directly perceives Rishikesh, the master of the senses. Nirbhata Rishikesha Padambuje. After delivering the Hariyashas, Narad Muni continued traveling throughout the planet systems, his mind always fixed at the lotus feet of the Lord. Purport. The goodness of the great sage Narad Muni is described herewith. He always chants about the pastimes of the Lord and delivers the fallen souls back to Godhead. In this regard, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has sung. So Prabhupada quotes this famous song of Narad Muni. Narad Muni bhajai vina radhika raman name नाम मानी उदित होय भक्त गीत सामे अमी आधारे वर्षिये घन श्रवण युगल गिया भक्त जन संगने नाचे भोरिया आपन हिया माधुरी पुरा असभ पाशी मताए जगत जाने केहेवा कांदे केहेवा नाचे केहे मते माने माने पंचवदन नारद धारी पंचवदन नारदधारी प्रेमेर संग न रोले कमलासन नाचिया बोले बोलो बोलो हरि बोलो सहस्त्रानन परम सुखे हरि हरि बलि गाय नामे प्रभावे मातिल विश्व नाम रस सब पाय श्री कृष्ण नाम रसने स्पृही पुराल अमर आशा श्रीरूप पदे याचये इह भक्ति vinod das. I did not sing in the right meter because I don't know, but this is a very famous bhajan, and Prabhupada explains this bhajan. The purport of this song is that Narad Muni, the great soul, plays a string instrument called the veena. Narad Muni bhajaye veena, vibrating the sound Radhika Raman, which is another name of Krishna. Radhika Raman Name. As soon as he strokes the strings, all the devotees begin responding, making a very beautiful vibration. Accompanied by the string instruments, the singing seems like a shower of nectar, and all the devotees dance in ecstasy to the fullest extent of their satisfaction. While dancing, they appear madly intoxicated with ecstasy, as if drinking the beverage called as Madhuri Pura. Madhuri Pura. Madhuri means the ras. Some of them cry, some of them dance, some of them, although unable to dance publicly, dance within their hearts. Lord Shiva embraces Narad Muni and begins talking in an ecstatic voice. And seeing Lord Shiva dancing with Narad, Lord Brahma also joins, saying, all of you kindly chant Hari Bol, Hari Bol. The king of heaven, Indra, also gradually joins with great satisfaction and begins dancing and chanting Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Indra joins gradually the kirtan because he's having his position. It becomes a little difficult to give up and come forward. In this way, by the influence of the transcendental vibration of the holy name of God, the whole universe becomes ecstatic. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, when the universe becomes ecstatic, my desire is satisfied. So we chant for the pleasure of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Naam bina kichu nahi tribhuvane. There is nothing to be attained in the 14 planetary systems except the holy name. And one who can experience that while chanting that I don't need anything in this 14 planet systems, he's chanting Naam. And in one bhajan also, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that chant his name and satisfy the soul of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So the same point is being made here. I therefore pray unto the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami that this chanting of Harir Nama may go on nicely like this. Prabhupada is further continuing the purport. Lord Brahma is the Guru of Narad Muni, who is the Guru of Vyas Dev, and Vyas Dev is the Guru of Madhvacharya. Thus, the Gaudiya Madhva Sampradaya is in the discipline succession from Narad Muni. The members of this discipline succession, in other words, the members of the Krishna conscious movement, should follow in the footsteps of Narad Muni by chanting the transcendental vibration Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Prabhupada, after quoting the entire bhajan of Bhaktivinoda Thakur about Narad Muni, Bhajaya Veena, he gives the parampara from Narad Muni's disciple is Vyas, his disciple is Madhvacharya, and we come in the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, and that's why we should follow in the footsteps of Narad Muni by chanting the Hare Krishna Mantra. They should go everywhere to deliver the fallen souls by vibrating the Hare Krishna mantra and the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. That will please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it will please all the acharyas, and if acharyas are pleased, the Lord is pleased. One can spiritually advance if one actually follows the instructions of Narad Muni. If one pleases Narad Muni, then the Supreme Personality of Godhead Rishikesh is also pleased. Prabhupada quotes, Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasadaha. The immediate spiritual master is the representative of Narad Muni. There is no difference between the instructions of Narad Muni and those of the present spiritual master. So the spiritual master also instructs that please go and chant yourself the Hare Krishna mantra and go and do out Sankirtan. Both Narad Muni and the present spiritual masters speak the same teachings of Krishna, who says in the Bhagavad Gita 1865 and 66. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuro bhameveshyasi satyam te pratijane priyosmi me sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshisyami ma sucha. Prabhupada quotes this uh, most important instruction from the Gita 65 and 66. We'll not go into the discussion of these two verses uh, because that's quite an elaborate discussion. But, this is the essence of all the teaching of the Gita. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, offer your homage to me. Thus, you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. Priyosmi asmi. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. So this is from the purport from 6:5:23. So we have discussed two verses from the first canto, 6th chapter. After Narad instructing Vyas, he plays his Veena. And this is the second verse we discussed about the experience of the chanting of Nam. Okay, any questions you have up till now? Any questions, any clarifications? Okay, there's one question. Yes, Priya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji Generation. I just missed that statement because it's raining here. But ladies go to the temple carrying a mirror. Can you just repeat that?
Can you speak a little slowly and clearly?
Yeah. Ladies go to the temple carrying a mirror. Can you explain? Repeat that. I missed that because it's raining here.
I should repeat that.
Yes, yes.
I just told about the traditional Rajasthani devotees. They usually carry a small mirror and they, having darshan of the deities, they first place the mirror near to their heart and then try to reflect the image of the deities near the heart. If we start doing this in our temples, people will start thinking that we are crazy. But at least we can do that. We don't carry our mobiles and take pictures of the deities. I'm not against it, but basically, um, Krishna is thinking, instead of taking the picture in the heart, you're taking picture in the camera. Ultimately, that image, although it looks like it is there in the memory of the camera, but it will not go in the memory of the heart. So real darshan is to actually take darshan from the eyes and not the eyes of the heart, that is the soul's eyes, and to concentrate on the darshan and then deeply try to take the image deep in our heart. That is called as darshan. And in fact, this principle is very important. When we say that we are going to take darshan of the Lord, what does darshan mean? Darshan has, it is a combination of a sandhi of two words, aksharas, darsh and shana. And the is coming from dhyan. That means darshan means you have to do dhyan for a shana, for a moment. And today our minds are so much agitated that we don't even for a moment are able to focus on uh, capturing the image of the deities in our heart. And thanks to internet and mobile, that instead of capturing the image for a moment in the heart, we start operating our cameras and start taking pictures. That will become more agitating because the mind is more agitated. That means so. Darshana means dhyana for a shana, and if you can do this dhyan for a shana, for a moment, then the image is captured in the heart. And then after you take this darshan and you go back to your home, you can reflect and that image can appear in the mind. And there is a famous story, which is a true story, just few years back, of a Muslim saint who was a fakir in Jaipur. And he was working as a, uh, you know, he's called as bailiff. Bailiff means, the court notices he has to carry and deliver just like a postman. And this Muslim saint was very famous in Jaipur because the Muslims respected him as a genuine saint. So one day he had to go and deliver a notice to Radha Govind Dev temple. And because he was entering a temple, Muslims don't have faith in deities. They think they are idols and they have that philosophy. So he was very careful not to look at the deities, and he was going and he had to go to the pujari and give him the notice. But while coming again, he was very careful. But somehow in the window, he just peeked and had a darshan of Radha Govind Dev. And because he was so much concentrating not to have the darshan, with that concentration, he had the darshan, that dhyan for a shana, and he went back. He ran back out of the temple. But then when he was, doing his bhajan, whatever bhajan he was doing, Radha Govind Dev started appearing in his mind, and he was haunted practically. And from a fakir, he became a pure devotee and started singing spontaneously from the heart the glories of Govind Dev. And the Muslims rejected him. Arey, he is turned into a Krishna devotee. The Hindus were also rejected him because they were treating him based on bodily consciousness. Arey, he's a Muslim. So he was regularly coming for darshan, but even the Hindus objected to that, and he was bereft of darshan, and he was always lamenting. But the Lord was purifying him from within, and he was able to take darshan in the heart. Later on, one day, what happened is that uh, the DT, very costly items, the silver plate of the DT was missing. In fact, Govind Dev, whatever bhoga was offered, he carried this plate and went to this Muslim saint and he said, Baba, have this. And this Muslim saint did not recognize who it was and he had it ecstatically. And this boy ran away. And in the dream, Govinda revealed it as I had come, and now you please come back with this silver plate to take my darshan. And there the pujari um, Govinda appeared and he said, tomorrow my devotee, great devotee is coming, please welcome him at the entrance. And even the king, the local Maharaja there, it's not now there is no Maharaja there, but the real Jaipur, like just like the Pratap Rudra's descendants are there, the Gajapati in Orissa. So in his dream also he came there and he told that tomorrow my devotee is coming, please come and welcome him. So this saint came next day with the silver plate, very fearful that again he'll be rejected and he'll be thrown out of the temple, not allowed to take darshan. But he saw that the pujari, the king was there to welcome him, and he came and he had darshan. He was you know given a lot of honor and respect. So the point why I explained the story is darshana, that we have to do dhyan for a shana. And unfortunately, because of taking so many pictures on the mobile, we are absorbed in that and we don't take darshan from the heart. So at least we should follow this principle of taking darshan from the heart and avoid taking pictures from your mobile camera. That will not help much. Ultimately, at the time of death, instead of accessing the heart memory, you cannot access the camera memory. You have to ultimately access the heart memory, and that's why you have to take pictures from the heart more. That was the point I wanted to make. Okay, another question I will take up, and then we will continue our discussion. Yes, Swati Kulkarni Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji,
Yes.
Dandavat Pranam. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Prabhuji, I wanted to ask about Yukta Vairagya. That
Yukta
concept
Vairagya.
is not very that much clear.
Yeah, tell me, what's the question?
Yes, so I wanted to ask about Yukta Vairagya. I mean, it is not very clear. I didn't understood what it really means. So
Okay.
if you could just briefly explain
Yes.
it.
Okay. So anasakta vishayan. Vishaya means the sense objects. Anasakta, you have to be anasakta. This is the first criteria. Yatharamba upayunjitam. That means the item what you are going to use, it should be favorably, it can be used in Krishna service. And nirbande Krishna sambande. That item what you're going to use should be continuously only exclusively used for Krishna service. So that there's three criteria. Now, the only classic example which fits in Yukta Vairagya principle is the chamar, the yak tail. Nobody is attached to a yak tail. You see, I bought a yak tail from Nepal. It's a bone of a uh, yak. Actually, the bone is also there, because we have to cut and then fit the stick. So I'm showing this to devotees, and the smell is coming. They are not ready to touch, but it is pure, completely pure. So nobody is attached to a yak tail. And Yatharamba Upanjitam, whether it can be favorably used in Krishna service? Yes, because Krishna says he is present there. It's not different from Krishna. In fact, the hairs of the yak tail, the white and the black hairs, the white hair represents Ganga and the black represents Yamuna. That is how pure it is. And then Nirbande Krishna Sambande, continuously it has to be used in Krishna service. Of course, sometimes yak tails can be used for fanning the Maharajas. So the kings. So these three criteria has to be there. Anasakta Vishya, you should be completely detached from it, and whether it is favorable to be used in Krishna service, and Nirbande, whether incessantly it can be used in Krishna service. Then Yukta principle is satisfied. That's the point. I hope it is clear. Is it clear, satisfactory to you? This
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so the last part we will discuss, and then I will take up the questions. Okay. Now, this is the introduction to Sri Namashtaka. I thought it is important because we are going to study Sri Namashtaka. So we will go through the introduction given by Vidwan Gaurang Prabhu. Vidwan Gaurang Prabhu is one of the most scholarly Vaishnavas who has translated many of Rupa Goswami's works. This is one. Many of the Bhaktivinoda Thakur works also is translated, and now recently he has begun the translation of the Valmiki Ramayana with the Acharya's commentaries. So this introduction is given by him. We will go through it. We learn from Chaitanya Charitamrita Antilila, chapter 1, that Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhu had once gone to Jagannath Puri to meet the Supreme Lord, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Rupa then stayed with Srila Haridas Thakur and was writing a drama on Lord Krishna's pastimes. An important incident took place then with the Lord's associates, beginning with Srila Ramanand Rai, acknowledging that Srila Rupa Goswami was empowered by Lord Chaitanya to understand the Lord's teaching on some confidential topics, one of them being the spiritual sweetness of the holy name, Nama Madhurya, as experienced by perfect pure devotees of the Lord. We saw the experience of Narad Muni, and Nama Madhurya or Nam Ras is a matter of anubhav, anubhuti, sakshat anubhuti, experience. And Rup Goswami is one such acharya. Hmm. Here are the relevant snippets of that significant event from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya 1. One day, while while Rupa Goswami was writing his book, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu suddenly appeared. As soon as Haridas Thakur and Sri Rupa Goswami saw the Lord coming, they both stood up and then fell down to offer him their respectful obeisances. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced them both and then sat down. The Lord inquired, "What kind of book are you writing?" He held up a palm leaf that was a page of the manuscript, and when he saw the fine handwriting, his mind was very pleased. Thus, being pleased, the Lord praised the writing by saying, "The handwriting of Rupa Goswami is just like rows of pearls." While reading the manuscript, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw a verse on that page, and as soon as he read it, he was overwhelmed by ecstatic love. Anyone knows which verse that is? Anyone knows? At least the beginning of the verse. I know it is very difficult to memorize that verse. Anyone is aware which is that verse? No. Tunde tundavani ratim vitanote तुंडावली लब्धये कर्णक्रोध कदम्बिनी घटयते कर्णाब्दुभे स्पृहाम् चेत प्रांगण संगिनी विजयते सर्वेन्द्रियाणां कृतम् नो जाने जनिता कियद्भिर् अमृते कृष्णेति वर्णद्वयी. This is in a very good meter, and again, I'm not so familiar with that meter. I do not know how much nectar the two syllables na jane varnadvayate krishneti varnadvaya have produced. When the holy name of Krishna is chanted, it appears to dance within the mouth. When we desire, well, we then desire many, many mouths. When that name enters the holes of the ears, we desire many millions of years. And when the holy name dances in the courtyard of the heart, it conquers the activities of the mind, and therefore all the senses become inert. Now, this verse needs quite an elaborate explanation, and we will not go into that explanation now. Maybe some other time when discussing Rup Shiksha, we can go into it. But basically, the point what I'd like to make that Shuddha Nam, when it is chanted, just taking the name Krishna, one goes into ecstasy. And because of the ecstatic transformations, all the spiritual senses are enlivened and the material senses become inert completely. Recently, we were in a Japa seminar with His Holiness Bhakti Vigyan Goswami Maharaj, and he was narrating how there is a Gaudiya Vaishnava saint in Rajasthan. He's a Grahastha, and he chants every day 5 lakh names. And in his village, all the village people chant the Hare Krishna mantra, and even young girls, 5, 6 year old girls, chant 64 rounds. They are the standard in the village is that everyone chants 64 names because they are so much inspired by this sadhu. And he's a very exalted sadhu. I also know about him. And Maharaj went to meet him to just figure out how, is it possible to take 5 lakh names a day? Let me figure out. And after having a brief discussion, then can you show me with your Japamala, how do you take every day 5 lakh names? Because to chant one mala, then you have to chant within 3 minutes or 2.5 minutes, to complete 5 lakh names. So this sadhu said, okay, I'll show you. And then he took out his beads and he started chanting. And the moment he said Hare Krishna, he went into ecstasy and he could not chant anymore. And then Maharaj understood, I'm trying to figure out materially, how to chant 5 lakh names. So basically, the point is that one who's taking Shuddhanam, he goes into ecstasy and he's experiencing so much nectar that he feels that millions of mouths he needs to taste this nectar and millions of years he needs to relish this nectar. So we cannot understand, we cannot fathom or imagine this platform, but at least we should have a desire. Prithu Maharaj says in one of his prayers that let me, oh my Lord, wherever Krishna Katha is happening, let me be present. So let me expand myself and be in thousands of places wherever Krishna Katha is happening. For us, it practically means that wherever Krishna Katha is happening in our local place, let me prepare myself, have that eagerness to utkanta, to go and hear and put my attention at least in that one Krishna Katha. So that should be our aspiration. But this is a very exalted platform. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted this verse, Haridas Thakur, upon hearing the vibration, became jubilant and began to dance while praising its meaning. One has to learn about the beauty and the transcendental position of the holy name of the Lord by hearing the revealed scriptures from the mouth of devotees. So this is what we are going to do in Sri Namastaka. When we hear the position of the holy name as it is mentioned in the scriptures, then we'll be more inspired to chant. Nowhere else can we hear the sweetness of the Lord's holy name. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Haridas and Rupa Goswami and left for the seaside to perform his noontime duties. On the next day, after visiting the temple of Jagannath, as usual, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Ramanand Rai, and Swarup Damodar. They all went together to Rupa Goswami, and on the way, the Lord greatly praised his qualities. Yeah, while going in the Antilila, it is mentioned first chapter that he was glorifying Rupa Goswami. And this is the principle that when we go to a teacher to hear, first you have to glorify the teacher. So Mahaprabhu followed that principle. When Haridas Thakur and Rupa Goswami saw that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had come with his intimate devotees, they both immediately fell down like logs and offered prayers to their lotus feet. Thus, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his personal devotees met Rupa Goswami and Haridas Thakur. The Lord then sat down in an elevated place with his devotees. Rupa Goswami and Haridas Thakur sat at the foot of the elevated place where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was sitting. Although everyone asked them to sit on the same level as the Lord and his associates, they did not do so, both Rupa Goswami and Haridas Thakur. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, my dear Rup, please recite the verse from your drama, which upon being heard makes all people's unhappiness and lamentation go away. When the Lord persisted in asking this again and again, Rupa Goswami recited that verse as follows. So again, this verse is quoted. When all the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, especially Sri Ramanand Rai, heard this verse, they were all filled with transcendental bliss and were struck with wonder. Everyone admitted that although they had heard many statements glorifying the holy name of the Lord, they had never heard such sweet descriptions as those of Rupa Goswami. And we are going to study Sri Namastaka. So you can imagine what description Rupa Goswami is given. The drama that Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhu was working on at that time was Vidagdha Madhava, the Vrindavan pastimes of Krishna. His elder brother, Srila Sanatan Goswami, had been trained by Lord Chaitanya in all aspects of Krishna consciousness and was working on literary projects presenting them in Brajamandal. After Srila Rupa Goswami's stay at Puri, he joined Sanatan Goswami in Vraja and wrote many books such as Laghu Bhagavatamrit. Brahad Bhagavatamrit was a composition of Sanatan Goswami, and Rupa Goswami was editing it. And after editing Brihad Bhagavatamrit, Rupa Goswami wrote what is called as the Lagu Bhagavatamrit. The Lagu Bhagavatamrit is like the Vedanta Sutra of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The entire Srimad Bhagavatam in the form of sutras is explained in the Lagu Bhagavatamrit. So after composing such works as Lagu Bhagavatamrit, establishing the scriptural basis of Sri Chaitanya's teachings on the nature of Radha and Krishna, their eternal associates, eternal abode, eternal pastimes, and Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, presenting the complete science of Bhakti Yoga. So among all Rupa Goswami's work, the most important for us is Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Additionally, he wrote several prayers to Radha Krishna and their associates that were later compiled and published by his intimate disciple Srila Jiva Goswami under the name of Stava Mala. So Stava Mala are various bhajans written by Rupa Goswami, and they are prayers to Radha and Krishna. Very, very beautiful Stava Mala. Stavavali is a composition of Raghunath Das Goswami, and Stavamala is a composition of Rupa Goswami. Bhaktivinoda Thakur composed Geetamala. That is his composition. It appears that following the logic of Madhurena Samapayet, one should end a meal with a sweet. Srila Jeev Goswami placed the Namastaka 8 verses on the glories of the holy name at the very end of Stavamala. So you're directly getting the nectar. At the end of the meal, you should end with a sweet. So at the end of Stavamala, Rupa Goswami placed the Namashtaka. After Srila Rupa Goswami's disappearance, Srila Jiva Goswami did much to spread the study and the writings of Srila Rupa and Sanatan. Under their directions, under their instructions, he also composed the Bhagavad Sandarbha, also known as the Shad Sandarbha, Krama Sandarbha, Lagu Vaishnava Toshini, Gopala Champu, a commentary on Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and other books to clarify their meanings. So, Jeev Goswami is our Siddhanta Acharya. And Prabhupada followed Jeev Goswami. In all the Bhagavatam commentaries, you can see Prabhupada many times quotes Jeev Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti. So our Siddhanta teachings are based on Jeev Goswami. And that's why Jeev Goswami composed what is the Bhagavad Sandarbha or the Shad Sandarbhas, which is like a thematic study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And then he wrote a commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the Krama Sandarbha. And the Lagu Vaishnava Toshini is, there is the Brihad Vaishnava Toshini, which is the commentary on the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam by Sanatan Goswami. Jeev Goswami edited that. So after studying that, he wrote the Lagu Vaishnava Toshini. And the Gopal Champu is a very special book on the 10th canto pastimes. And then Jeev Goswami wrote a commentary on the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is called as the Durgama Sangamini Tika, resolving the difficult. So you see that Jeev Goswami wrote all his works based on the teachings of Rupa and Sanatan. Yet, now this is very important, a few generations down the line, the study of Sri Rupa Goswami's writings were mostly neglected by those who proclaim themselves to be Lord Chaitanya's followers. Now, if this can happen during that times, 200, 300 years back, our Sampradaya Acharya and founder Acharya has given his teachings in the form of, our books, Prabhupada's books. And it is very important that time and again, we should study Prabhupada books very, very carefully because they are foundational books. And if we don't study them and we still claim that we are following Srila Prabhupada and ISKCON, then it's not right. So we can see that, the teachings of Rupa Goswami neglected. It was then that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur revived their study and personally commented on some of them, such as the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, while his powerful successor, Srila Baldev Vidoshan, commented on the Lagu Bhagavatamrit and Stavamala. So, when the teachings were neglected, after Jiva Goswami's commentation of Guru Savanati's work, it was Vishwanath Chakra Thakur, who is also called as the incarnation of Rupa Goswami, because he commented on all the works of Rupa Goswami. So Vishwanath Chakra Thakur revived it by writing a commentary on the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And his commentary on the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is called as Sarartha Pradarshini, I think so, revealing the essence. And Baldev Vidyabhushan commented on Laghu Bhagavad Amrit of commentary on the Rupa Goswami's work of Laghu Bhagavad Amrit, and he wrote a commentary on Stavamala. Stavamala is a work of Rupa Goswami, and Baldev Vidyabhushan commented on it, and that's why we'll be studying. As you know now, Namastaka is the last part of Stavamala, and we'll be studying Baldev Vidyabhushan's commentary. Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan's commentary on Namastaka is significant. It reveals his deep insights into the power, significance, and method of offenselessly chanting the holy names of the Lord. Please remember, by studying Sri Namastaka, he is going to give us the method of chanting offenselessly the holy names of the Lord. Around a century later, Bhaktivinoda Thakur started summarizing the teachings of the Goswamis and highlighting their key precepts through his own several writings. So later on, Bhaktivinoda Thakur also started commenting on Rupa Goswami's works. Some of his publications were prose paraphrases and versified explanations of selected writings of Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami in Bengali. I'll not go into this detail because it's very vast. One of them is this very Namashtaka. With his characteristic penetrating intelligence, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur clarified in simple language some of the complicated concepts presented in Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan's Sanskrit commentary on the Namashtaka. So we'll be studying also Bhaktivinoda Thakur's simple explanation of the Namashtaka, because he clarifies the concepts which Baldev Vidyabhushan has given in his commentary and makes it more simple. So it's like a commentary to the commentary, which is like a sub-commentary. When the talker organized his Namhata preaching, he published the Namashtaka with his Bengali prose paraphrase and versified explanation in pamphlets and had them distributed in great numbers. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur knew the Yuga Dharma is Nam, and to know Nam means to know Nam Tattva. So he did it by publishing in the form of pamphlets in his Namata preaching. In this edition, we have presented the Sanskrit text of Srila Rupa Goswami's Namashtaka. There are only these verses, the 8 verses which Rupa Goswami wrote, with Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan's commentary in Devanagari in part 1 of the book. So there is Devanagari Namashtaka verses and Devanagari commentary, Sanskrit, which we are not going to go through. Devanagari. We'll be studying the English transliteration, because nobody understands Sanskrit, even I don't understand. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Bengali explanation is presented in Bengali as part 2. So again, the Bengali explanation we'll not see. We'll see the Bengali transliteration. In part 3, we have presented a transliteration of the above with an English translation. So we will be studying the transliteration as well as the English translation of Namashtaka, both Baldev Vidyabhushan and Bhaktivinoda Thakur. We have incorporated the word-for-word meanings in footnotes. I have also taken the liberty and audacity to annotate the translation also in footnotes. So we'll be studying also the footnotes. Part 4 contains further annotations, mostly snippets from the writings of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, which we already saw yesterday and today, whatever Prabhupada has stated on Namashtaka. It is solely by the causeless mercy of Hari Guru Vaishnavas that this publication has become possible. Learned criticism of the translation and annotation, along with the suggestions for corrections, are welcome. I also take this opportunity to seek the kind blessings of the Vaishnava community. This is on behalf of Raghunath Vani publication, Vidwan Gauram Prabhu. So I took this part because we are going to study Namashtaka, and what we are going to study, how this has come to us, these teachings. That's why the whole flow is there. That's why we took this up. So from tomorrow, we will actually begin each of the verses of Sri Namashtaka, Baldev Vidyabhushan's commentary, That means transliteration and the translation, and then explanation by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. We will start studying from tomorrow. Okay. Any questions? I'll just take only one question because already we shot more out of our time. Our scheduled time was 8:30 to end, but I wanted to finish this discussion. That's why I took a little more time. Okay, there's one question. Sham Sundar Prabhuji. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji Dandot Pranam.
Yes.
Today, I want to ask that Prabhu, when we are preaching, when we go Harinam and preaching someone and advise them to chant the name with Japmala, so they are not ready to say
We are
eat
not
meat.
supposed to do that. We are not supposed to do that. We are supposed to only give the name, Dadati. Pratigranati is, he has that individual freedom. And only when he is inspired and he is inspired by the Lord from within, he will take up naturally. If you try to force, then it will not work. So we as parents also cannot force our children to practice Krishna consciousness because they are our children. And if we do that, it will hit back. So we have to follow this principle of just giving. To accept, it's not in our hands. We have to do our part. And this is very important in preaching. We have to know this principle. So that is what you have to do. You just go and give name. And you create a favorable circumstances. You give favorable impressions, spiritual impressions. And allow, wait, be patient, wait. So that, and you pray. You pray for that jiva. And then when he's inspired, he'll take up. That's natural way of preaching. That is what you need to follow. Is it
But,
okay?
Prabhuji, but
There is no but. There is no but for this.
Yes, Prabhu, when we
You have
give
to
them,
do
then
this.
they ask some questions that if they are eating meat and not impure, so I can chant or not. Then at that time,
That
what
you
we can
can
say?
tell. It doesn't matter. No matter whatever sinful activities they are doing, you just inspire them. Doesn't matter. You continue doing that, but you start taking name, you say, and automatically, as they start taking name, they will start giving up that habits. Don't ever tell them to give up those.
Yes, yes.
Okay, is it clear?
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Anyone else has? Okay, then we'll stop here. Shri Namastaka ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Rupa Goswami Pad ki jai. Hare Krishna.